All right, just to get things started, obviously, let me preface things by giving credit where credit's due. I think, obviously, we played a very, very good football team out there today. Sacred Heart is big and strong and fast, and we knew going in they were going to be a good football team. We were hoping that it would be a step down from the level that Eastern Kentucky was, and it wasn't. They came out and they played a great physical football game. That being said, giving credit to them, just disappointed at the hopes and expectations that I had year two for how we handled ourselves as a football team here today was really a letdown. We knew they were the bigger, the stronger, the faster team that we were going to be. We talk about all the time, for us to win games like this, we have to do the little things right. We have to out-execute our opponent, which we did not today. We have to force turnovers and not turn the football over ourselves, which we were terrible at today. Let them be the undisciplined team, not us, and we were very undisciplined. The number of penalties that we had in the game was unacceptable. The timing of those penalties, unacceptable. And when you put together a recipe where you come out and that's how you present yourself as a football team against a caliber team like Sacred Heart, you get the result that we got. And we talked a lot last night as a team about this being a great game to forge an identity. Last year was all about building a foundation. We felt like we had done that. We felt like in the end it was a successful year because we built a foundation. This game was going to be about building an identity for our football team. We talked about how did we want to be perceived. When other people turned on Valpo's film, what were they going to see? And we talked about things like being relentless, playing as a team, all of these things that we discussed last night. We showed up and failed to exhibit those type of values that we talked about. So there's a lot of work to be done. And I will say that to a large degree, this very much mirrors where we were a year ago. So if there's a little bit of a silver lining in today's events is we sat there as a team on the field at the conclusion of the game, and it was almost deja vu like how I felt at the end of our game against St. Joe's a year ago. We were disappointed. We felt like we didn't give a showing that was indicative of our true abilities as a football team. And I just thought to myself as I was there addressing the team that this is it. We're in the exact same spot as we were a year ago. Obviously, Sacred Heart is a better football team now than St. Joe's was a year ago, so the score difference was even greater. But the silver lining is there are guys, Grayson's one of them, a lot of guys who played through last year where there hadn't been a foundation built yet, and where guys had to take on faith that, hey, we have good schemes on offense, good schemes on defense, a way of building a winning football program. And the players buying into that led us to a successful conclusion to the 2014 season. And the players that return from that team understand that foundation has been laid, that belief in the system of values, belief in the coaches, belief in the system, belief in each other, understanding that if we practice the right way, if we prepare the right way, do the little things right, it will make a difference on Saturdays. And that's there. And I believe that without a doubt that exists on this football team right now. Guys understanding, hey, to a degree, we've been here before. Now, we've got a lot of guys, unfortunately, on this team, this large freshman class, they haven't been here before. They haven't been 0-2. And so it's going to take a great deal of leadership from these upperclassmen, the guys who have been in the fire, guys who are in leadership roles, to stand up and say, guys, this is no different than last season. And our hope is, I still believe, well, I know that we are a more talented football team now than we were a year ago at this time. So what remains to be seen is whether we can come together, find a way to build on the positives, and really come away from this game understanding that we cannot be an undisciplined team and expect to have success. We cannot expect to turn the football over and have success. And the basic fundamental game, blocking, tackling, throwing the ball, catching the ball, continuing to improve in those areas. If we can do that, we're going to have a shot at having a really positive and successful 2015 season. There's a long ways to go. But we've got a lot to take care of here, a lot to address in this week as we prepare for our next home game against College of Faith.
Dave, one concern has to be the health of the quarterbacks before going out. What's the latest on Stokes?
Yeah, well, you know, it's unfortunate. This is the first time I'd love, maybe you guys can do some research, but yeah, both of our quarterbacks that played were hit illegally, helmet to helmet, cheap shots. Both players were ejected, good calls by the officials. Sacred Heart, that's the type of team that they were coming in. We knew they were chippy and they would talk smack, but they would back it up. We knew they were talented. So it was unfortunate that those two cheap shots concussed both of our quarterbacks. And Dalton tried to play through it initially, kind of passed after he was hit. He made it through towards the end of the drive, but at the completion of the drive, it was obvious that he was done for the day. And then Scott, in the second half, received his, and again finished the drive. But as he came off, it was eerily similar to look in both of their eyes. So Ryan Clark wound up finishing the game for us. We didn't intend to play Ryan. Ryan actually worked. He ran Sacred Heart's offense. He worked with our scout team offense during the week. And I think Ryan's a great player. I would have loved to have played Ryan in this game, but unfortunately, Ryan wasn't doing some of the things off the field and acting like a leader should act, acting like a quarterback should act. So he was relegated to scout team, both for the Eastern Kentucky game and for this week. But we put him in the game because while Jake Paliga was our third-team quarterback going into the game, he's a candidate for a red shirt. We think he's a talented player, and we would not like to have to play him unless we absolutely had to. So we wanted to save his eligibility. But who knows? If both Dalton and Scott are not able to pass the concussion protocol testing, both of them may be out, in which case we're going to have to find ourselves a third-team emergency backup quarterback because we're out right now. Connor Smith, our fifth quarterback, tore his labrum in camp, so he's out for the season.
How much of it, how much time do you spend in the Paliga decision on the field during the game? Was it just Clark is in immediately, or? No,
it was a discussion I had with Jason Mirren, our offensive coordinator, and he's done some good things. We think he's a very talented player, but we have a quarterback who is a sophomore eligibility in Ryan Clark and a redshirt freshman in Dalton Stokes, and we believe that both of those players are going to develop into outstanding quarterbacks. So we try not to have guys all, it's nice if we can stagger them so two of the three are not of the same year of eligibility. So that may not be possible anymore, and if that's the case, that's fine. I think Jake is a good kid. I think he's working really hard at becoming a better quarterback, and he's got a lot of talent, and I think he's got a good career ahead of him as well. But we'll see. We'd like to redshirt him.
A couple of pretty nice catches from Van Ginkel and Frank on the sidelines there. And, I mean, can you look at some of those individual plays and just point to some good stuff on film that happened?
Yeah, absolutely. There were plays like Eastern Kentucky that were made, on both sides of the ball, really, and in the kicking game as well. A nice kick return, a nice punt return again by Frank, Katrine. So there were a number of positives if you look at just certain plays. Mm-hmm. The challenge is, as an offense, we couldn't go out and put together a string. It was always one good play followed by 3 bad plays and a punt. So we were never able to put together a string where it was a great play followed by another great play.
Grayson, how do you talk to some of the underclassmen on the team after a game like this? How do you help the freshmen along going forward?
I mean, it's tough. I remember sitting here next to Tanner Karamata last year after our St. Joe loss, and I remember Tanner saying, "It sucks. This is what we've been through for so long. This is what we feel like we don't deserve as a football team." But the problem is, we crumble in adversity. And Coach talked about building an identity as a football team, and today that's what everyone thinks about us now. We went into this game knowing that they were talented, knowing that they were a great team, but we were confident in ourselves as well. But when push came to shove, we weren't consistent, and we got emotional, and we started crumbling. And it's hard as freshmen it's hard for everybody on this team to be able to work through that, but that's something we have to do. We have to respond. And for the younger guys right now, yeah, they're feeling upset too. We're all upset. I mean, upperclassmen, we've been through this too many times, and it stinks. So to tell them, keep your head up. I mean, last year, as Coach mentioned, we had a similar loss, and that helped spark what we were calling building our foundation and laying our foundation. Obviously, it feels like a step back from where we thought we were last year, ending the season, to come out and have a game like this where we pretty much just shoot ourselves in the foot. But you got to respond to it. I mean, there's nothing else we can do other than respond to this, come out next week, and play a better game, and play a game in which we can put together drives, in which we can stop their drives and play better on special teams. Right now, all you can say to these guys and this team is, we just got to keep going, and we got to look past this. Go through film, know our mistakes, get better. But if you just keep hanging your head like this, we're not going to be able to move forward. And yeah, it's not what we wanted, but that's what we can do right now.
Coach, you said last week one of the things that was frustrating was the big plays in the passing game. First play of the game, the 33-yard completion. Is this just something that, here we go again?
Yeah, and it was, we addressed, we made some personnel changes to try to limit that, and that was, you're right. I mean, right from the get-go, we put Melvin Graham out at corner, and his first opportunity, I thought that ball should have been intercepted. But Melvin stumbled, and instead of it being an interception and a great way to start the football game, with our offense taking the field, they wind up with 30, with an explosive play. So that was disconcerting, But I think as we went on, I think it's important to note as well as on both sides of the ball, when we get into a game like this, where you're playing an opponent that's good, and you get to the point where it's like, hey, we're not holding up necessarily on either side of the ball. The important thing, our shift as coaches goes to, well, we need to play. We need to find out about players. Let's put some freshmen, some sophomores that maybe hadn't played yet, let's put these guys out there and let's see how they respond to adversity. Okay, we're not going to put, and we played a lot of football, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, with second string and third string guys to find out who can help us. When the starters weren't getting it done, we weren't going to bang our head against the wall and say, keep taking the field. We have conversations like this as a staff about let's find out about as many players as we can. We've got some talented young kids. Let's throw them out there. Let's call a game that they can execute. So they're either going to make a play based off of their talent or they're not. And there were some guys who stepped up. there were some guys that, again, with the type of team that we were playing and the chippiness that was going on there, they did let emotions take the better of them, and that's always one thing we want to be able to play with reckless abandon, but be disciplined at the same time. And unfortunately, we crossed the line several times through the course of the game where players' technique broke down, or they tried to make a play, leave their gap, not do their responsibility because they were emotional and they were at times, letting that blind their assignment.
Grayson, these 2 illegal hits, 2 guys ejected, how tempting is it to lose your cool, I guess? I mean, what do you got to do to make sure you don't?
I mean, yeah, it's always tempting, but we knew the type of team that these guys were going into the game. And Coach talked to us about that, and he said we need to be sure that we accept that fact, know what we're going up against, and keep it cool. The worst thing, we had so many penalties as is, but if we just get a stupid penalty for responding like that, if they want to play that game, we'll let the officials take care of it, and we just got to respond by playing football.
Brandon Hall did not play. What's his status?
Yeah, Brandon received a concussion last week. Was not able to pass his test, and so he was not available. He wasn't in uniform. Hopefully he'll be back for next week.
What do you need to see from the quarterbacks in order to get through the protocol or whatever? I mean, how long of a process?
Yeah, well, there's several tests. It's our sports medicine department, takes baseline testing of each player. So when they're healthy and they take tests, it's pretty extensive actually. So it's a battery of tests that they have to go through, and they compare it with the baseline test scores when they took their test as a freshman coming in. And if they can't pass, they've got to wait and take it again. And there's certain protocol that they have to go through, a step-by-step process, getting them back to the point where our athletic trainers will say, okay, he's good, he's ready to go.